I'd like to take the time to introduce Michael Jackson, our president of Adaptive Computing.
Thank you very much. Is this on? Okay, there it goes. Today I want to talk about a theme. One of the challenges that we've had is I go to the engineers and ask about how many knobs do we have? How many things can we do? How many decisions can we make? And I found out we had over 3,000 parameters you can set within Moab. It's an awful lot. As you begin to look through our documentation, you start to look through and you see, I think it's well over 1,000 pages. And so it begins to be quite voluminous. And how do you begin to, what is the picture behind this? So part of what I was hoping to do in this presentation was I was going to try to be brain surgeon, and I was going to try to dig in a little bit into the brain of Moab and help you understand how it sees the world and kind of how it makes its decisions and how you can apply that architecture or that methodology to the benefit of your organizations. I also tried to link to that, what is some of the theory behind this of what we're trying to do? And that's where the title, Empowering Automation Intelligence, is helping to try to bring together that picture. So what are two potential meanings? I brought around this term to a few people, and they said, well, it could mean two things. One, it empowers you to apply automation intelligence. Or two, it empowers you by means of automation intelligence. And what we're really trying to do is we're trying to empower you. We're trying to empower you to achieve your business goals, your organizational goals, through our software. And we know that there's two elements to it. There's a spectrum. Up and down, it's acting. Left and right, it's intelligence. We want to increase the amount of intelligent action that is happening within your computing environment that empowers you to ultimately achieve your goals. So that was the theme that tried to help bring together the picture, because is Moab workload management? Yes, it is. Is Moab do event management? Yes, it does. If you begin to ask these questions, again, it really comes down to action that is able to do on your behalf and the intelligence that it can bring to bear to make better decisions. So what are some of the things that it empowers you to do? One of the baseline is increased performance. A lot of times this performance is measured in terms of your workload. We were proud to be the ones that said, we can bring you the highest utilization in the market. We brought you 90 to 99% guarantee. We've never had anybody come in and we put a caveat. You have to at least have enough work, to fill up your machines, and you have to not over-constrain yourself by choice. But we have been able to deliver on that promise. And then we began to see that the delivery had to be more than just filling it up. Then you had to be able to prioritize it. Then you begin to understand there's ways to optimize even though it's full, such as topology awareness. And then you begin to see, well, how do I begin to repurpose the environment? And many additional things. So work, in the end, you buy these systems because you have work that you're trying to accomplish for your organization, whether it be science, whether it be commerce, whatever the means may be. Ultimately, some of the performance that we try to improve is your systems. How much of your systems are getting value out of them. One of the elements also is agility. We need to be able to help enable you with the acting intelligence that it be dynamic. We don't want to have the failed design that others have, which is a one-time, well, here's a good spot. This is what you should do with your workload. It has to be able to adapt. Thus, even the name adaptive computing was born out of this idea that we need to adapt your computing environment to meet those things that help you achieve your goals. We also understand, and this is where you see the term uptime automation start to come out with the Enterprise Edition, is increased reliability. Now, increased reliability is about the hardware. It's also about the workload. And we hope to be a partner with you in applying that uptime automation, both from a high-performance computing perspective as well as from a cloud perspective. Cost savings. As you just pointed out, cost savings is one of the principal elements that people are trying to overcome. And there are significant savings that we've experienced with our customers that really drive the ROI. The reason I joined with David at the beginning of this company is because he was managing a system that was a $100 million system, running at 20% utilization. They brought him in. He got it well into the 90s. And that was a $70 million savings right there. And it was just like, there are significant improvements we can bring to the world. And ultimately, some of this is just the cold, beneficial facts, but it also means we might get cancer research done a little bit faster. We might be able to get some of the world's problems in terms of what's happening with weather, what's happening with our environment done a lot faster. We might be able to avoid a lot of financial mistakes if we can apply the investments in the right place. So in the end, what are we trying to empower you to do to achieve your objectives? We understand some of it is at the system level, but we understand it's past the system, it's past the workload, and in the end, you have some business objectives that have business processes and other things tied into them that is really our goal. So I tried to wrap it into a statement. Adaptive computing provides automation intelligence, or automation intelligence software for cloud and HPC, computing which empowers organizations to dynamically apply policies that achieve business goals of agility, cost savings, and ultra-high performance. So that's kind of how we begin to look at our product. We begin to look at the goals that we're helping to achieve or bring value to you as an organization, and just a method of trying to bring that together in a statement. So let's apply this empowerment. We said workload performance. We have been fortunate to be able to, through 6.1 and 7.0 of our product, to be able to deliver what we believe is the highest throughput in the world from a workload management perspective. When we pass the 1 million workloads being able to be managed under Moab, and we, within our labs, have even passed well beyond that, we don't know anybody that is in that realm, and we believe that is well ahead. Certainly, we also have very significant advancements that we've made in large parallel, the large parallel workloads, certainly from a scalability perspective, but also just from an overall performance. If I go under the cloud side, I'll just kind of hop back and forth between HPC and cloud. We have some that have improved their performance by 10x within their environments. If I go to system utilization, again, we talked about the 90 to 99. If I go over to cloud, there's two layers of it. Certainly, if you're going from traditional, you're at 5 to 15% utilization in a data center today, which most of us would say that's terrible, and that's right. You bring in virtualization, that will get you to 40 to 50. You put Moab's ability to change and add a real-time infrastructure or that dynamic management on top of it, and you can increase it another 50 to 2x above that. And so there's very significant savings that people go from that 5 to 15%. Cost savings, I mentioned, example of $70 million being saved by a single customer. On the cloud side, we now have a customer that will be saving $200 million this year because they have gone from that 5 to 10, 15% utilization into something where they claim 10x improvement of their utilization of the hardware, 4 to 10x on the storage, half of the personnel required to be able to manage the system, power savings that are significant, and many other such things. And they're planning on, over multiple years, to save $1 billion in 3 to 5 years. So very, very significant cost savings is what we're helping to empower today. Reliability, again, we talked about the uptime automation, health check. On the cloud side, you're dynamically moving workloads away from the resources that have issues. We just saw in this last demonstration in the track 2 that we were doing dynamic reparenting of VMs after physical failures. Agility, on the HPC side, we were the ones that introduced into the market dynamic Windows to Linux, and also Linux to Linux, allowing you to say, I just submit my workload, it becomes what is needed. Certainly on the agility on the other side, in the data center or in the cloud, there they've gone from what used to be an environment where they would bring up a deployed environment in maybe 45 days, 60 days. Well, it's down to 7 minutes if it's Linux or Some of those other types of environments, if it has a full application stack, it's half an hour to an hour. So very significant agility improvements and objectives. Ultimately, I'll summarize that to say there's a lot where we've been able to allow organizations to focus their investments towards what helps them make money, what helps them make science, what helps them save lives. And many of the technology elements through SLA and other such things that help them do that. So this was my effort to try to be the brain surgeon. This trying to represent the brain of Moab. And I apologize, it's a little small, probably going out there, so I'll speak it out loud. Moab goes through this decision cycle. And I wanted to be able to kind of draw out that, first of all, what is Moab? Or what are some of the unique attributes? It's a multi-dimensional decision engine. So a lot of other tools out there, they're workflow engines. All they can do is just bring in the pieces of information that you designed in a workflow. They're not multidimensional in their aspect. We are able to bring in many, many sources of information, bring it together to make a best decision, and dynamically re-optimize is one of those things. We bring in the ability to model things out into the future. Many tools can only say, well, what would happen right now? They can't tell you the impact of a decision that you're about to make and whether or not it's good or bad in the future. But with our tool, because of advanced reservations, because of scheduling and its model, even though other tools that are schedulers, many of them will only do one-time optimizations, and they really are not modeling effectively out into the future. Excuse me. You got to build in automation that's a little less jumpy. So the other thing that is unique to our products, as you see, we have built in an event engine. That's part of the action. So we're able to make these decisions, we're able to act. So now I'll go ahead and go around the cycle. At the very top is requests. This is we receiving the requests from users, administrators, portals. We get the workload, we get user reports. We get this information to application agents. Applications may be asking information, remote system requests, scheduling initiated work, maintenance requests, many different things are requesting information from Moab. And so the second step is that we begin to update. We begin to pull in information. So now we know some of the things that people want. We're going to go out, and this is part of the resource manager interface. We were made fun of by other workload managers that just thought, oh, this is way too complex. But in the end, this is what gives you the efficiency. We're able to go out to the hardware manager and understand whether it's CMU, XCAD, or Tivoli products. We can bring in the information about your hardware and make right decisions in that context. Same thing with storage, with network. We tie into something like FlexLM to get license information. We can tie into applications, monitor individual applications. So that one example with one customer, we did the flex up and flex out elements of cloud because we were monitoring what was happening with individual applications and dynamically applying additional resources. Certainly security tools, help scripts. We bring in a lot of different things that help feed the decision. Your ability to make the right decision is directly measured by how much information you bring in to make that choice. Just like if you want a young child that you tell 2 instructions to manage your environment, good luck. Or would you rather have someone that has many sources of information, a lot of experience and able to do that? So updating and resource and workload state information is very valuable. Next, once we've brought in that information, we begin to filter out what is the art of the possible. We begin to understand, well, because of policy, or because of resource state, or because of ownership, or because of accounting, or these other things, this is what I am permitted to do within your environment. This is what is allowed. Then the next thing is after you filter, you begin to do the prioritization. I know what I'm now allowed to possibly do. How do I now filter that down into what is, I'm down into prioritization. I'm now beginning to order that. What is the most important thing to do now that I know what is possible? Whether it's from a time perspective, resource, condition perspective, etc. I then get into the reserve state. I begin to create, I take these possibilities that I've filtered down, and then I've prioritized, and I begin to create objects with them. I now, with these objects, am beginning to see how they can fit out in time and space. And once I have reserved and created these object level elements with the reservation, and again, the reserve is, I already got that well, the next is, now that I have these requests into objects, I begin to optimize them. How do I pack them tighter? How do I improve the system performance? How do I get a completion time faster for you? How do I deliver an SLA better for you? How do I improve the cost that is required? And then once I've optimized, now this optimization is smart. It knows that I'm optimizing not just what is there, but what it potentially can become. So in this next action where it says system actions, repurpose an environment, just because I had Windows laid down and I had a Linux workload coming in, I'm not going to say that's not there. I'm going to say this is what it can become. I am now going to take those actions to say I'm going to reshape, I'm going to compose your environment to become that which helps you get the most accomplished. So you have the system level actions, and then after I've now reshaped the environment to be optimized to what your goals are, now I'm going to do the workload actions. Now I'm going to reshape your workload to most effectively fit in. This is, cheating in Tetris. I just changed the shape of the blocks. I just changed the shape of the tubes that it's going down into, and now ultimately I'm going to fit it together much more efficiently, achieving your goals better. It gets up into metrics. So now that I've taken the workloads, I've run, I've migrated, I've changed, I've triggered workload actions, I might have preempted workload. Next thing is I'm going to run metrics. Now metrics here, I have two different things, metrics and logging. Metrics is now, I'm going to create new information that helps me make a better decision. So I'm going to be tracking what's happening with your workload. I'm going to be tracking what's happening with your power. I'm going to create information that improves my ability to act. G-metrics, for example, information about billing, etc. And then ultimately I'm going to go through the logging state where I'm going to capture the workload logs, event logs, resource state, SLA performance levels, error handling, and then I go back into the iteration. Now the nice thing about this intelligence is, so we've just done a full cycle, we've optimized it. What I hope this presentation helps you do is, as you understand these elements, come back to us and say, well, on that gathering information, can you get this piece? Or on this optimization, can you add this capability? But once you understand that full cycle, how it works, and how it can empower you to act intelligently, it becomes very powerful to an organization. So, in conclusion, what are our objectives? We are trying to empower automation, or empower you through automation intelligence to achieve your business goals. Again, on agility, cost, ultra-high performance. And we're unique in the way that we try to dynamically re-optimize that environment that is time-aware. We try to improve the sharing of the resources among your organizations, and we try to maximize the uptime of your environment. And so I hope that as you look at, again, that theme of empowering automation intelligence, help us understand how we can apply that power. What are the things that you're doing that you don't want to keep repeating that really takes and creates your virtual assistant in a box, is another way of looking at it. But we thank you very much for coming here to Moab.con. Appreciate your feedback, and we hope to continue to listen and act intelligently upon that feedback. So thank you.